Hi guys, so today we're checking out the WJ2 rear bumper without the pre-drilled holes for the backup sensors, fitting all 2020 and newer Gladiator JTs. So if you're looking for some quality protection, some extra styling, and some overall functionality for the rear end of your truck, then this rear bumper is a great choice to take a look into. Now this is going to provide a wraparound protection for any obstacles on the trail that you may come in contact with, and this is also going to provide you that protection that you may want to your JT while you're on the street, made of a solid steel plate construction. Now I also like the fact that this has a more angular design and a nice fine textured black powder coat finish, giving it a very premium look and also assisting in the off-road and heavy-duty aesthetic that this bumper provides. Now this will also come with a couple of different benefits over some of the other choices on the page, which I particularly like. This will allow some recovery points on the rear, and what I also like about this is the fact that this is going to have jacking points on the bumper, so whether you get stuck while you're out on the trail or you need to take a look under your truck, if you get into a predicament while you're off-roading, this is going to allow you to do so. Now the other thing that I think is pretty cool about this is the fact that you also are getting cutouts and mounts for cube lighting for the back of this bumper. So if you are looking to add some extra visibility to the rear end of your truck, this rear bumper will allow you to do so. And I do like the fact that it does not come with the lights. It kind of gives you the option to customize and really choose whatever fits your application best, and kind of offers you a more custom feel out of your truck. Now I would like to call out the fact that, again, this is not going to have the pre-drilled holes for the factory backup sensors, but that is going to be tailored specifically for the JT owners who do not have that. Some other choices on the page may accommodate both, so if you do not have those backup sensors, they'll come with plugs. However, I do really like the fact that this does not accommodate both. This is specific to those JT owners, so you are getting a very clean look with this. And not to mention, this is going to come with everything you need to install this, including the license plate light bolts, in order to stay legal while you're driving around on the street. Now with that being said, this is going to be more of a premium bumper because it has a little bit more to this than the average one, coming in at roughly $600. But I personally think that's a really good price point for what you're getting out of this rear bumper. Now some other more expensive options are usually going to have some extra bells and whistles. They may come with the accessory lighting, or they may come with a couple of other different benefits that this one does. However, on the other hand, some of the less expensive choices are not going to come with all of these bells and whistles, like the jack points as well as the cutouts for the cube light. So it kind of comes down to your personal preference. I particularly like this bumper a lot, considering the fine texture black powder coat finish, giving it a premium look, and all of the functionality and utility that you're getting here at that $600 price point. Now as far as install is concerned, this is actually going to be incredibly easy to install. There is a little bit of wiring when it comes to the license plate lights. However, everything else is bolt on. No modification is required. I'm going to give it a 1 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter, taking you about 2 hours to get the job done with some very basic hand tools. So speaking of the install, let's jump into that now. The tools that I used for my install were a breaker bar, an electric ratchet, a trim removal tool, a heat gun, a wire tool, a pair of snips, 16mm and 10mm wrench, a 3/8" drive ratchet, a flathead screwdriver, a 21mm socket, a 16mm deep socket and shallow socket, a 10mm socket, and a 3" extension. So to kick off this install, we're going to head underneath our truck first. You're going to need a 16mm socket and a ratchet, and you're also going to need a trim removal tool. So what we're going to do first is disconnect the wiring harness for our license plate light. I'm going to take a trim removal tool, and I'm going to get the clip removed from that frame here. Then we can bring it down a little bit, pull this red locking tab up, press down, and release that. Now there's a couple of clips that are still holding it onto the frame. I'm going to use that same tool and remove those from the frame because they're still connected to the bumper. So next we're going to unplug our trailer plug. Just have to press down on this tab and pull back. Can go to the side, and then we can disconnect some of the bolts that are holding on our bumper. Next we can remove the two 16mm nuts that are holding on the bumper to the frame here. I'm going to use a 16mm deep socket, and we can remove both of those. Then we can repeat that on the other side. What we can do next is remove our license plate. There's 2 bolts up at the top that are holding it in. This may depend on what hardware that you have for your license plate, but I'm going to use a 10mm socket. Now once those are out and the license plate is off, that's going to expose 2 bolts behind here. I'm going to use that same 16mm socket, and we can remove those. Once those are removed, we should be able to remove our bumper. Before we mount up our new bumper, we do need to remove our tow hook here. I'm going to use a 21mm socket and a bracket bar to do so. So before we install our new rear bumper, I did want to stop down and tell you guys a little bit more about it and some of the benefits that it comes with in comparison to our factory one, and show you some of the similarities and differences between the two. Now the big similarity right off the bat is that this is going to be roughly the same size, offering you full wraparound coverage. However, this is going to be way more durable than the factory rear bumper that's made of a plastic and a steel plate material on the back. Now this new option is going to be complete steel plate. This is going to have a complete steel construction, which will hold up a lot better off-road and to any kick-up or any obstacles on the street even. And it's going to have a nice texture black powder coat finish on top, which will add a more aggressive and off-road appeal to the rear end of the Gladiator. Now this is also going to have a little bit more of a boxy design, and there's going to be small cutouts on either side for some extra styling, so that's just going to add to that off-road look. Now this will also come with a couple of extra benefits that your factory rear bumper is really not able to allow. Now this is going to be able to work with the tow hitch on the back, but this is going to have a couple of other recovery points like 2 welded D-ring mounts on the side, and this is also going to have jack mounting points on either side as well. So really, if you get into a sticky situation while you're out on the trail, this is going to be able to get you out of that sticky situation, whether you need to jack your Jeep up or you need to use a recovery point. Now the factory rear bumper does not have jack points, and it also is going to come with that standard tow hook. Now that is good if you really get into a pinch. However, a D-ring is going to work a lot better and is also going to be a little bit safer. Now this will also come with light mounting options as well. On either side of the bumper, you're able to mount up some accessory lighting depending on if you are looking to add some visibility to the rear end of your Gladiator. And this is also going to accommodate for the license plate lights. Now you're not going to carry over the lights on the side here. You will be carrying over that hitch plug, but this is going to come with license plate light bolts to accommodate for that, to make sure that you are legal while you are out on the street. So overall, this is going to be a big upgrade. This is going to come with a lot of functionality, and of course it's going to add a lot of style to the back end of our Gladiator here. So what do you say we go ahead and bolt it up? So before we can mount up our new bumper, we do have to swap over our hitch plug, and because we are wiring in new license plate light bolts, what I'm gonna do is actually take the plug from here, and we're gonna wire this directly into those lights so we can have a factory style disconnect or a factory style plug on our new bumper. So what I'm going to do first is disconnect our hitch plug here. Now this is just held in by a clamp. It just pushes into the back. So what I'm going to do is take a flathead screwdriver. I'm going to push in those two clips, and it's going to fall, or we can push it right out of the front of the bumper. So there's a metal tab on either side. Once you clear the one side, you can kind of push it down, and then you can do the other side. And you can give it a good push. Now for our plug, what you want to do is make sure that this wire wrap is pushed back, and then I'm just going to take a pair of snips and just make sure that there's enough lead to wire it in, and we can swap over this plug onto our new license plate bolts. So I have the bumper flipped upside down just to give you guys a better look at what's going on behind the bumper. So I'm going to take our hitch plug. This is going to be in the same location that the license plate lights were on the factory bumper. What I'm going to do is just line that up, and with those clips we're just going to push forward and it should stay in place. Right? Now once that is on, what we can do is take our license plate and we can line it up where it needs to go with those bolt holes. So once that's lined up, we can take our license plate bolts, and these are going to be separate. So this is going to have a 10mm nut and a washer on the back. What we're going to do is unthread that from the light and the wire. We can put the wire through. And then once that's through, what we can do is take the washer and nut, thread that back onto the wire, and secure that on to the back of the light bulb. I find it a little bit easier to do this on the table or while it's off of the Gladiator, just because with the spare tire underneath and that crossbar, it's a little bit difficult to access, and wiring requires a little bit of room to do, so we'll tighten that down in just a second. We'll get the other one threaded on. You also want to make sure that that LED is facing down towards the license plate. So once those are both threaded on, what we can do is hold the front of the light, and then we can take a 10mm wrench and just tighten those up. So now what we can do is wire these into each other and then into our factory style plug. So we can do, these are already a little bit stripped, but I'm just going to strip the wire a little bit more so we can tie them together. We're going to put positive to positive, negative to negative. Take a butt connector, clamp that down. Now you can wire this in however you'd like. I find it easiest just to swap over the factory connector, so you have a factory style plug there. You don't necessarily have to do that if you don't want to though. So once those are connected, what I would recommend to do is just take a heat gun and shrink these down, as well as the heat shrink. This is just going to protect that connector and make sure that it's solid and waterproof so nothing's getting into it, especially if you take it off-road. So I'm going to do that, and then we're ready to mount up the bumper. So what we can do now with the help of a friend is mount up our rear bumper. We're going to have two mounting locations, one that's going to match up with the frame, and then this mounting location is going to go inside where our tow hook was originally. So once we have the bumper mounted up to the face of our frame rail with the hardware provided, which is the bolt, 2 flat washers, lock washer, and a nut, there's also a welded nut plate that goes inside the frame that we can attach from the top. So once you have all of your bolts in, what we're gonna do is start with the frame part, or the top of the frame. I'm going to tighten those two down with a 16mm socket. So when we tighten down the top ones first, this is going to pull the bumper up towards the tailgate for the best fitment, and then we can tighten down the side ones to pull it in. Next, with the 16mm wrench and socket, we can tighten down the 2 bolts on the side. And then once those are tightened down on this side, we can repeat that same process on the other side. So our last couple of steps are plugging in our hitch plug and our license plate wires. So we're just going to take this plug, line it up, push that in, make sure that we hear a click. Then we can plug in our license plate wiring harness. So once that's clipped into place, what I recommend is just to zip tie these up into place, and then we'll be all set to go. So that is going to wrap it up for my review and install. Make sure you like and subscribe for more videos and products just like this, and always keep it right here at extremeterrain.com.